and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to Fourth and Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
We are so stoked that you are joining us here for our very first episode, Fourth and Troll Fantasy. We've been working super hard to get this on its feet, and it means a ton that you are listening. We're stoked. We are beyond stoked. We are miles beyond stoked. We're up the mountains of the highest Alps, screaming to the rooftops that we're stoked.
Keep it going. Keep it going. One more.
We are in heaven, screaming that we're
Yes!
stoked. And we are so hyped for this. We've been talking about doing a podcast now for like 2 years. And so to finally be here and recording this is a little bit surreal. I'm at a loss for words a little bit. Wes, what are you thinking?
I think you summed it up really well, especially with all the mountaintops and heavens analogies. This is really something that we have, as you said, for 2 years, we've been toying around with this idea that we should start a fantasy football podcast, because I don't think a day has gone by since maybe 2018 where we haven't texted about fantasy. So this is such a passionate and a hobby of ours that to finally be here, all the support that we have already received, this is very, very, very exciting.
It is super exciting. I'm glad you mentioned back in 2018, because I believe I have a text message on my phone where I asked you, I said, hey, it was when I was going to school in Australia, and I was out there and had a league with some guys there. And I said, hey, I'm in a league. It's a $25 buy-in or a $50 buy-in or something like that. And you responded and said, well, I'm not that hardcore about fantasy, so I don't know if I'd be able to join. And from there to now, look where we've gone. It's crazy.
Well,
it's crazy.
It's changed a little since then.
We have a podcast, dude.
We have a podcast for the Troll Fantasy.
It's crazy. I'm so excited. I'm so glad that you and I have this love for this thing together. If you didn't catch it, both our last names are Selby. We are cousins, and we've been best friends for like 24 years since I was born. Came out of the womb, and I dapped up Wes right away.
Yeah.
Sick.
What's up,
and my mom was like, whoa, that kid's dope. And I was like, yeah, I am. That's what's up. I'm talking to you. You're my mom. And
I don't remember this happening, but
it did. The nurse,
reason to think it didn't.
The nurse that was in the room calls me up every now and then and reminds me. But
that's a good relationship with your nurse.
It was cool. Yeah, it was pretty sweet. Anyways, we got a great first episode for you guys today. We are going to be going into our My Guys. We're going to be doing some quarterback and wide receiver rankings. But first things first, we're 1 week or 2 weeks away. We're in preseason week 3. Let's break down. There's some stuff that's happened this week. Wes, what has happened in the league this week?
Yeah, so we finally saw Tom Brady return back to the Bucs practice. We don't know why he left, but
we do.
We
do. Listen, guys, he was recording. Listen, he has a TV job lined up after this. He was out. He was recording The Masked Singer. It's all good. He was stoked to go out there and do that. And he said they already knew this was happening. Bowles says he knew.
Yeah, they did say that.
Bowles is a super fan of The Masked Singer. And so,
sure. Who is
so
it?
he was like, go out and sing your little heart out for Kenny up there on the judges board.
Yeah. Can you imagine that's the first thing Brady did? Like when he retired. So you know what? Finally, God, I've been waiting to get on. I can't stop winning. And they keep signing me back with the Bucs that I just have to. One day I'll get to sing on Masked Singer. So, anyway, Tom Brady's back, and Todd Bowles actually gushed about him already. He said that he's looking amazing. I forget which receiver it was. It's one of the receivers, maybe Mike Evans or Chris Godwin or someone, said that he was destroying defenders in practice, and he just made them look terrible.
Sign me up for a couple doses of that this year then, because I'm pretty stoked. Todd Bowles has come out and said that we are going to see Brady play this preseason week 3.
That's right.
They play the Colts. I believe he actually said anyone who's healthy enough to play is playing. And so I'm not sure the magnitude of how long we'll see them for, but I'm stoked to see potentially this offense in nearly full swing. And, I expect them to go out and not run the ball a single down. And Tom Brady will have 40 passing attempts in the first drive.
That's likely.
Yeah. So it checks out. So yes, we're stoked. Brady is back. We're very excited.
Yes. And speaking of starting quarterbacks, God, it took forever, but Matt Rule finally named Baker Mayfield as the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers for week 1 against his former team, the Cleveland Browns.
OMG.
Yeah. Was there nobody ever thought Sam Darnold was going to start, right?
Not at all. No, I didn't. I know that there were, his trainers and stuff like that were saying Sam's ready. Sam's working out. That's good. Doesn't matter.
Did you hear the report that one of at some point Baker Mayfield threw a touchdown in practice before they decided that it was Baker or Sam, and Baker threw a touchdown and everyone started celebrating, and then Matt Rule was like, run a lap. No celebrating.
Matt Rule had his teams running laps for celebrating a touchdown pass in practice.
Yeah, for his quarterback throwing a touchdown. They're like, woo, let's go.
Yeah, checks out. Checks out for sure.
Run. Come on with that.
Yeah, no, checks out. Checks out for sure. Matt Rule and I have a little bit of beef. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I love this bit where Matt Rule and I have beef, and I have no idea what started it. But it's just there. It's just a thing. It's prevalent and it exists. So
I'm on your side though.
Yeah, Matt Rule, who wouldn't be, man? That's such a compelling argument. So
I don't even know. He has to probably at least win 10 games to not get fired. That's my hot take.
I think so. Yeah, and I have them winning
season,
maybe 5 or 6. But
yeah. So anyway.
Baker.
Yeah, Baker, congratulations, especially for the narrative of starting against your old team. That's always exciting for fans. So moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders are going to officially release Kenyon Drake from the roster. The backfield is going to open up a little bit more for Josh Jacobs and Zamir White. I have liked what I've seen with Zamir White. I don't know if it makes me want to draft either of these running backs anymore. Are you more interested, Noah, now that Kenyon Drake's gone?
No, I won't be. I don't really want much to do with this backfield. They didn't pick up Josh Jacobs' 5th-year option, and so they don't really see him being a part of the future. McDaniels, we've seen in New England, comes from this offensive scheme where there's no really true back besides shout out Danny Woodhead for that incredible season back in whenever that was. Love that man. But no, I'm not really high on any of them. I'm pretty much avoiding that backfield for what it's worth, and for I don't think that there's going to be much. A big thing for Josh Jacobs was scoring touchdowns, and so I think with extended weapons now in the red zone, I think McDaniels is going to have them targeting and putting the ball in the hands of players like Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller. And so I'm pretty out on this backfield. Kenyon Drake may go somewhere. I know Baltimore loves signing veteran running backs and hoping they will do something. But I'm not sure if he'll go anywhere. I don't think he'll be much of a fantasy asset or anything like that this year. And so, thank you, Kenyon Drake, for the miracle in Miami. And I hope he gets another job. But nothing about this makes me more excited about the Raiders backfield or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree. Very, very recent news. Cowboys left tackle Tyron Smith suffered a torn left hamstring and is likely out for the season, at least for multiple months.
Do you think that's painful?
If I were to guess, yeah.
It might be. I think I just shivered a little bit reading that. That was
I don't know.
And hearing that. I'm like, that just sounds so painful.
I don't know how to actually process that kind of a pain. I've never broken a bone, so I don't even know what that feels like. So I can't imagine a torn hamstring.
Yeah.
But as far as fantasy, because that's more important than our bodies.
Right.
Zeke, Tony Pollard, they got the backfield behind Tyron Smith. Dak Prescott in the pocket trying to throw to what could be breakout season for CeeDee Lamb. Do you think this affects either one, the passing game or the running game, more with Tyron Smith out?
I think everybody takes a little bit of a hit here. I think the running game, obviously, they run right behind that line, and that line needs to open up for them to open up some holes and will make some lanes for them to rush. And so this obviously downgrades them a little bit. I remember, this Dallas line like 4 or 5 years ago was the golden standard for offensive lines. We were looking at it and it was like the Cowboys O-line and the Colts O-line. And it was like, that is top tier. And and it's definitely fallen off a little bit here. And obviously we take a big hit here with Tyron Smith. I do recall McCarthy saying that Dak is a little more mobile now. He's 2 years removed from that gnarly injury to his leg. And so he is back. He's a little more mobile from what I've heard. And so he might be able to move around a little more. But I just think everybody takes a little bit of a hit here. I'm not entirely sure if it's making me out on certain players, but I'm just aware that there's going to be a little less time for a place to develop and for holes to open up. And so, I tread a little more lightly, but I think overall I'm still not knocking a bunch of these Dallas skill players too much.
I don't think it affects their long-term success in the season. I think there may be some plays that have been lost in opportunity because of some of the front four defenses getting into the backfield sooner. But I think you're right. I think it affects everyone in the end, but I don't know if it's going to take away any ADP from any of the skilled players.
Sure.
Last but not least, because we got to keep going here to our My Guys coming up. Dolphins tight end Mike Gesicki was brought up in the trade talks. Mike McDaniel mentioned it, and he has kind of disappointed fantasy players that have believed in Mike Gesicki as a potential breakout for Miami. But if he gets traded, are you interested in him?
I think so. I think it depends on the landing spot. McDaniel came into Miami and we saw the kind of schemes he runs in. He ran in San Francisco, and throughout his kind of coaching career, when he's coached all around the league with following kind of like hanging on the coattail of Shanahan, but he's learned a lot from him. And those schemes that he kind of runs, they heavily favor the blocking tight end. And Mike Gesicki that's not really in his wheelhouse. I mean, don't get me wrong, he can throw some blocks, but it's not a strong suit. And so if he does go elsewhere, and it'll be interesting to watch, but if he does go somewhere else, I do think that it will be maybe a bit of a sleeper. I read a report that maybe the Giants could go ahead and maybe have a little bit of pull there. I'm not even really sure who the Giants tight end is at this point. But with Brian Daboll there now, maybe that could be the case. So we're going to have to monitor it and see. I know McDaniel did say the reports were misleading since there are many names brought up in trade conversations, but that doesn't necessarily denounce that it wasn't brought up. He's just I feel like he's just kind of saying, I feel like he's kind of Belichicking it. Like he's just kind of like, forget about it, and whatever, and so it's like, all right, Mike, whatever. Yeah. And so, I'll be interested to see kind of how this plays out here. I know that he is playing on the franchise tag, and so he's guaranteed, I believe, somewhere around $15 million this year. I'm not sure what that does to people's salary caps, and if they have the availability to trade and put that kind of salary on in the finances and on the team. But it's going to be an interesting one to monitor, I think.
Yeah, I've been out on Mike Gesicki this year. I used to really believe in him. I had a saying last season that people were going to win just because of Mike Gesicki, and that was not true at all, especially when he put up 0 points in week 1 last season. So
I think like 45% of his fantasy points last year came in a span of it came from 2 different games.
I believe that 100%. I'm not even going to fact check you. You're right. Great. I know you are.
Just trust me. Source, just trust me.
Right. That's our motto for this podcast. Just trust us.
Just trust us. Yeah, we're right. It's all good.
We're right. Lots of news for this week, heading into week 3 of preseason.
Yeah, it is. We are going to go ahead and jump into our My Guys here. And for those who don't know what My Guys are these players in fantasy that you are leaving every single draft with. You are so high on these guys. You are so ready to watch them play fantasy and for them to dominate for your team. You believe in them with an immense amount of belief, and you are all in. So you are claiming them as a My Guy. So Wes, let's jump in here. Who is your first My Guy?
My first My Guy is wide receiver Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos. And I contemplated whether putting him on here technically because he's still he's a 5th round talent, 4th round based on certain drafts. But everybody in Denver that is reporting on their training camps and in their practices, they've literally called him an alpha receiver. And the chemistry between an alpha receiver.
That is sick.
I don't even know what that means.
Me neither.
It means good.
I love it.
It means good. That's all you have to know.
Yeah.
And people have wanted Jerry Jeudy to perform. I'm going to make a case here. Actually, I don't even need to make a case. I'm just going to tell you what the reports say. Jerry Jeudy has yet to turn heads in practice. That is a report that followed this statement that Courtland Sutton is the alpha receiver for Russell Wilson. He is he's going to vacuum targets. He is the favorite receiver. And Albert O, their tight end, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name until I practice that a few times.
Yeah.
But he has actually kind of slipped a little bit in practice as well. So I thought he's been doing fine in preseason, but in practice, point being, it's Courtland Sutton's show. And he's 2 years off an injury now from 2020. And Russell Wilson, I don't need to prove it, but I did for my own sake. Look at the statistics of Drew Lock compared to Russell Wilson. And
how do they compare, Wes? Please tell me.
This is going to surprise you, but Russell Wilson is better. I'll say it. Russell Wilson's a better quarterback than Drew Lock.
Sorry, I'm just speechless. This is brand new information to me. I am floored.
I don't know why. To be honest, I don't know why I did the stats. I thought I wanted to try to prove something as if like there was some secret, but like literally every statistic. I was going to tell you some. I mean,
tell me one. Tell me your favorite.
I'll tell you one because it's just okay.
For the people,
Drew Lock has less than 60% completion percentage under pressure.
Okay.
Wilson has a 60% completion percentage under pressure. Russell Wilson is going to a much better offensive line in Denver than he had with the Seahawks last season.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything that is in Denver setting up for Courtland Sutton. I don't need to get any more statistics. Point being, Courtland Sutton has proved himself as an incredible receiver. Right now in fantasy, he is a 6th round talent. And for a guy that I think has a very, very good top 10 upside to finish, that is a steal. I'm willing to draft him a round earlier, reaching for him, if you will, in the 5th round, just to make sure that I get Courtland Sutton.
I like it, dude. I'm really high on Courtland Sutton as well. I think it's going to be so fun to watch him play football with Russell Wilson. We've seen it. We've seen the production. He had a great season 2 years ago with Joe Flacco and Drew Lock under center. I think you didn't bring up anything about Joe Flacco, but if I had to guess, I think Russell Wilson's a little better than him too. And we saw Courtland Sutton go for over 1,000 yards that year with those two guys throwing the ball. And so I'm stoked. I think Courtland Sutton has a chance to be a huge sleeper. I mean, I know he's being talked about a lot, but I think honestly, you talk about this top 10 upside. I don't think you're off. I think he could be. I think I got him a little bit outside my top 10, but I'm there with you, dude. I'm so excited for Courtland Sutton.
Wait till you see where I have put him in my wide receiver rankings, dude.
Oh, boy.
I am in on him.
No, tell me about me.
Oh, I will. Tell me about your first my guy for this season.
My first my guy, I am so excited about. My first my guy is wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens, Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman was poised for a great rookie year last year, and he was super exciting to hear about in the preseason. Unfortunately, he had a groin injury. He didn't get into the season until about week 6. But nonetheless, I think he is primed for a breakout year this year. I'm going to break this down for you real quick. Last year, Lamar Jackson's fantasy wide receiver 1 each week averaged 17.7 fantasy points per game, which would have been good for wide receiver 6 on a points per game basis last year. I know that wasn't one guy, and I get it, but I'm not even including Mark Andrews into that stat, just to be clear on that. It wasn't one guy. I get it. There's Marquise Brown, there's Sammy Watkins, and there was some of those weeks they were those guys, but other weeks it was Rashad Bateman. But with the loss of those two guys, with the loss of Hollywood Brown, with the loss of Sammy Watkins, there are now 195 vacated targets in this offense. That's 5 short of 200, just in case anyone missed it.
Oh, thank you for clarifying.
195, 195 vacated targets. And the closest competition for targets behind Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews is Devin Duvernay.
Oh, he's my favorite Raven.
Isn't he awesome? He, in his 2 years playing, has not broken the 50 target mark. He hasn't been targeted more than 50 times either of his first 2 seasons playing.
And that's targets, not receptions.
Yeah, just targets. Just so I don't know, maybe he's not getting open. Maybe he hasn't had the opportunity. Maybe he breaks it this year. I'm not sure. But I am calling my shot. Bateman is going to far outperform his ADP. He's currently going as wide receiver 34 in ESPN fantasy drafts. He is this year wide receiver 15. Sign me up for all of the Rashad Bateman goodness we can get this year.
I love it. I love it. I love it so much that he was actually one of my guys.
He was, yeah.
Before Noah stole him from me. So that I don't like my guy, but I'm also so in on Rashad Bateman for this season.
No, 100%. Since I stole him from you, I will be gracious. And instead of going back to back, I'll let you go next. Who is your second guy we're going to talk about?
You're going to do that for me?
I'm so kind, aren't I?
So sweet.
I know.
Yeah. My guy is a little. I don't feel it's bold, but I think it's an interesting pick because I think it's in this draft the lowest risk and potentially the highest reward of any of these players.
Okay.
My guy is Julio Jones of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For anyone who doesn't remember, he left Tennessee.
Right.
He did not do well in Tennessee.
Mm-mm.
And I think many would consider him washed up because of what he did, or really what he didn't do there. But everything, again, apparently I'm a training camp reports kind of guy because that's how I'm really locking in on these claims.
Listen, we're just trying to stay plugged in. We're for the people.
We're in tune. We're involved in the media. So Julio Jones, since he's come to Tampa Bay, he has been nothing but apparently elite. He has looked like his 2016, 2017 self, where he was the primary receiver in not just Atlanta, but in the whole NFC and the whole NFL. Apparently, in Tampa, this is what they're saying in Tampa Bay, is that he looks amazing. Okay, well, here's the thing. He's a 14th round talent. So, I mean, if you don't think that's right, what are you going to do? Bench someone else instead of the guy that's on your bench? You don't have to start him. I'm not talking about someone like, Saquon, who's in the 3rd round. This is a guy that's way, way at the end of the draft. The other reason, though, and I think this is also important, is that it's Tom Brady. And we saw what he did with Antonio Brown. We saw what he did with Rob Gronkowski. And they both came back after some absence. And they were so good with him. He has this effect where he can make people better. And I think it is so worth going into week 1 with Julio Jones on your bench just so you have him, just so you can see if you're right, you've got him. You don't have to worry about the waiver claim. That's my case. Julio Jones, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. There may be a resurrection happening with Julio.
I like it. It's a little sleeper, my guy. It's a little sleepy guy.
Sleepy guy.
He's a little sleepy guy.
No, listen, Julio.
You make great points. You're 100% correct. If anyone can resurrect, you are. Yeah, all the time, actually, by the way.
Thank you.
If anyone can resurrect an older superstar, an older elite, previously elite fantasy player and football player in the NFL, it's Tom Brady. We saw it with Gronk, like you said. We saw it with AB, like you said. Actually, no, I was going to say I don't like it, but if he's going in the 14th round, like you said, there's not much risk there. You know what?
There's no risk.
If my next my guy weren't who my next my guy was, I'd probably be thinking a little more about taking Julio Jones.
That's fair. Well, then who's your other my guy? Let's hear him.
Well, my other my guy is what seems to be our 4th wide receiver on the my guy segment. So we're super high on receivers this year, Wes, apparently. But he is.
They're going to be great.
They are. My second my guy is another Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver, and his name is Mike Evans. Have you heard of him?
I have. Last year. Yeah, I heard he did pretty
you
good.
heard about him last year, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So before that, the 7 previous years, Wes, he went over 1,000 yards receiving, and last year did it again. He has never had a season without going over 1,000 yards in this league. So one, that's a feat in and of itself. I believe he's the only player who's ever done that for the first 8 years of their career. Over the last 2 years, since Tom Brady came to Tampa Bay, Mike Evans has had 27 receiving touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. That's crazy. He's had 13 and 14 touchdown years. I'm super stoked for the opportunity that Mike Evans is getting this year. So we know this team is stacked up. I know they lost Gronk. And it's a little bit interesting of the injury situation right now. The word right now is if Chris Godwin is ready for week 1, it's going to be on a limited basis. And with Julio, the claim you just made, Brady could resurrect that season and that career there. But back in 2016, Mike Evans with Jameis Winston under center, and this is Jameis Winston, not Tom Brady, Jameis Winston. Mike Evans went for 96 receptions for 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns. He was the wide receiver 3 on the season. Since then, and all throughout his career, besides that season, Mike Evans had never really been the high reception guy. But I think with the current situation in the wide receiver room and with Gronk gone, Godwin banged up a little bit. We're not sure what's going to happen with Julio having the injury history, with Russell Gage getting hurt in the preseason. We're not really sure what's going on. Mike Evans this week came back, was a full participant in practice. I think Mike Evans has a chance to be the high volume reception guy and still kill it with the yards, still kill it with the touchdowns. I am stoked on Mike Evans. He's my wide receiver 5, currently going as wide receiver 10. Mike Evans to the moon. Give me all of them. And mark my words, he is going to be a league winner this year.
What I think is fascinating about him being my guy is I think everyone thinks he's going to be great, but he's going early. He is
I know.
Early 3rd round, like late 2nd round, possibly, which means that my guys are supposed to be at any point, no matter what your pick is, you can take them. So any of the 1st round guys you can't take. He's going early. So no matter your pick, you're going to take him in the 2nd just to make sure you get Mike Evans. Is that how you're?
I'm willing to reach. Yeah, I'll even say this: if CeeDee Lamb or Tyreek Hill or even Jamar Chase fell to me in the 2nd round, I would still take Mike Evans over those guys.
Even Jamar Chase.
I would take Mike Evans over those guys. That is how much I believe in him. And with both of my guys here, with Rashad Bateman and Mike Evans, I'm big on opportunity. Opportunity is key here. And I think with this Bucs offense and the wide receiver room kind of being unknown, I think we could see Mike Evans go for 85 plus receptions this year, hit another 1,000-yard season, and still lock him in for double-digit touchdowns, at least 10. And I think he is going to be absolutely elite. Like I said, a league winner.
I want to pick after you so I can get Jamar Chase in the 2nd round.
Deal. Yeah,
that's my hope. Oh my gosh.
Take him. Have fun with the. Actually, I was going to try and crap on him a little bit, but you can't really crap on Jamar Chase.
It's Jamar Chase.
I'm so high on Mike Evans. It got to my head. Okay, sorry.
Well,
it got to my head.
I love it though. I mean, Mike Evans, I don't think you're off that he could be a league winner. And I think that it's fun that we have all wide receivers, and that ties in really well with the fact that we have ranked both quarterbacks and wide receivers. And let's get started on the quarterback rankings, which will be first up. Noah, you'll kick things off here. We're going to look at your top 10 quarterbacks, list them down, walk us through why your quarterback 1 is where he is, and we'll look through if there's anything that stands out to us.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Listen, this is the most accurate top 10 quarterback list you're going to hear all year.
Say it again.
This is the most accurate. Listen up. Hey, is this thing on? This is the most accurate top 10 quarterback list for fantasy football that you are going to hear this preseason. I want you to come back to this at the end of the season. I guarantee you I'm right. Here we go. Quarterback one is going to be Josh Allen. Quarterback one, Josh Allen, right? I know, crazy. He's quarterback one over the last 2 years. I don't think it falls off yet again. He's that type of guy who has the capability to throw for potentially 4,500 yards and go for 800 rushing yards as well. And so I love him. I love the weapons he's got around him. He's my quarterback one. At quarterback two, I've got Justin Herbert. That offense is loaded. At quarterback three, I've got Lamar Jackson coming back for a bounce back year. He had like 750 rushing yards in 12 or 13 games played last year. Like the dude is going to come back healthy. He's ready. I think there's still doubts about him, and he wants to come back and break that up. At four, I have Tom Brady. At five, I have Jalen Hurts. At six, I have Kyler Murray. At seven, I have Russell Wilson. At 8, I have Patrick Mahomes. At 9, I have Dak Prescott. And at 10, I have Joe Burrow. What piques your fancy on that one, Wes? Go ahead. Grill me.
I want to grill you, but I think these are pretty good.
Okay. All right.
I agree with you on all of it. I think at the most, maybe these guys, shuffle one or two spots. But I think this is pretty much the consensus going into this season. Mm-hmm. I have one question for you, though.
Sure.
If Josh Allen is the number one quarterback on your list, are you willing to take him in the 4th round? If he's the number one quarterback of the whole season, do you take him?
No, because I think there is better value at other skill positions in the 4th round than I will get with Josh Allen versus a guy like Tom Brady, who's going in the 7th, 8th, or 9th round. I have him as my QB4. Listen, Mike Evans was just my guy. If I can get the Tom Brady, Mike Evans stack, I want to look at the end of the year. I want to know everyone that won their fantasy leagues in the whole country. Mm-hmm. Can you get that for me?
Everybody that won? Yeah, I have everyone's on speed dial.
Sweet. Okay, cool. I want to know the percentage of them that go ahead and roster this Tom Brady, Mike Evans stack, because I believe it will be like the previous years of like Rodgers and Devontae Adams. Like I think it can be that caliber level, and I'm stoked on it. So yeah, I just I don't know that I would take Allen there in the 4th because I just believe there is more value there.
Your favorite is Brady because of the value where you can get him, where someone like Justin Herbert or Lamar Jackson, you have to spend 5th, 6th, maybe even 7th round pick to get that kind of talent where you can balance out the rest of your roster with other running backs and wide receivers and even tight ends. Am I hearing that right?
Exactly.
That's how I feel too.
Exactly the case. I've never been someone who takes quarterback super early. I've always been a huge encourager of wait on your quarterback. There are guys that go late that break out. I drafted Jalen Hurts in like the 10th round last year, and the dude had a 20-point floor. He had a 20-point floor, and I never had to worry about playing Jalen Hurts in my lineup. Like I just knew. I'm always going to be a encourager of the wait for your quarterback. There's value later in rounds. If I can go and fill up my starting skill positions, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex, and maybe get a bench skill player as well, and then I can draft Tom Brady, I'm stoked. I'm so stoked on that. And I will always be that way I'm always going to wait on those guys.
I think that's exactly how I have always approached fantasy, especially with a top 10 quarterback being taken that far in the draft. The only other thing that stands out to me, I agree with you, but I just want to hear more of why this is the case, because is it just Tyreek Hill no longer in Kansas City that you have Patrick Mahomes as QB8? Or are you reading into something else?
Sorta, yeah. It's tough because I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to be bad. I just think these 7 guys ahead of him, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, I think they'll all just be better. And again, he's not going to be bad, but he did lose that elite playmaker in Tyreek Hill, who on 3 different occasions last year went for like over 140 yards and 8+ receptions and at least 1 touchdown. That game against Philadelphia, I know we all remember that. He went for like nearly 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game. Won me the week single-handedly. That was awesome. But he's losing that elite playmaking ability. and a guy on that team who has that elite playmaking ability. And so I think, if we look at, Josh Allen and the connection he has with Gabriel Davis and how people are saying like, oh no, Gabriel Davis is going to be relevant. And if we look at Brady and Scotty Miller from last year, there were weeks it was like Scotty Miller is a streamable option. Last year, if you talked about these guys, it's like Mahomes and Byron Pringle or Mahomes and Mecole Hardman. That wasn't something we heard. And I think guys like Josh Allen and Tom Brady have the ability to make these guys that otherwise wouldn't be relevant strong players and options for fantasy. And with Mahomes and Juju's now on the team, and I like Juju, but now there are reports that, it's kind of similar to what was going on with his knee earlier in his career. And he's been sitting out of practice. He's been having troubles with his knee. We don't really know what a full workload for Marquez Valdes-Scantling looks like. Is Sky Moore a great option? I'm not sure. It's just, I don't think that there is going to be still that option and hope every week that, Mahomes can go for, he can go for 400 plus and throw 3+ touchdowns because he's just lost that elite talent. And again, like I said, he's not going to be bad. I just think these other guys ahead of him are going to outperform in fantasy.
I agree 100%. And it is just a top 10 finish. Just as you're saying, let's reiterate this. Top 10 finish is a great finish. That is a quarterback worth drafting. But these other quarterbacks that are ahead of him are going to do better. So by default, Mahomes falls to number 8. And I see the same thing with Aaron Rodgers not even cracking your top 10 because Devontae Adams, really, really young wide receivers in the starting lineup. Outside, Sammy Watkins and Randall Cobb, they're ancient. So it's a tough situation for him.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I wanted to like rip into you and call out some bold claims, but no, I think you said it. You nailed it. I agree. I like this a lot. I think you have a good top 10 QBs right here.
Well, thanks, dude. I appreciate it. Those are the top 10 quarterbacks I've got. Let's move over to you because we're breaking down your rankings of the guys that are going to catch these passes from these quarterbacks. So Wes, run me through your top 10 wide receivers.
Yes, and I feel like there's going to be a little more pushback because I feel like I'm making much stronger claims. So let me go through number 1 down to number 10. Number 1, I think the wide receiver 1 for 2022 is going to be Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen more and more people, this is crazy, more and more people are willing to take him number 1 overall.
Wow.
And count me as one of them. I will. If he's my favorite player in the draft. I want Justin Jefferson any way possible. Number 1, number 2, number 3. It doesn't matter. I have to have him. Long story short, Kevin O'Connell is their new head coach from the Rams offensive coordinator who just produced the Triple Crown winner and the Super Bowl MVP. Now, Cooper Kupp is his own player, but this is the guy.
Is that good?
It's good. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good thing.
Cool. Count me in then.
Yeah. So speaking of which, number 2 is not Cooper Kupp. I have Jamar Chase as number 2. And then Cooper Kupp is number 3. I've got Jamar Chase, second year, Joe Burrow, revenge tour. They're going to march through the AFC on their way back to Super Bowl. I think Jamar Chase understands the NFL better. Remember last season where they were talking about how he was dropping the football in training camp and that he was commenting on the size of the football was a little bigger than the college football and it was harder to catch.
Oh, don't I?
Yeah, and we all got that wrong. Well, now
I wish I hadn't believed them.
I know, same. I passed on him.
Yeah.
Not this time. If I get if I have Justin Jefferson, I'm taking him. But Jamar Chase is the second option because I think he's going to be fantastic. Rest of the guys here, Cooper Kupp, number 3, Devontae Adams at number 4, and then my guy, Cortland Sutton. I've got it number 5. I think this is the upside potential. Okay. I think I'm leaning into the potential of these guys. Yeah. And then, I'm sure we'll come back to him. Number 6, A.J. Brown.
Okay.
Number 7, CeeDee Lamb, then Stephon Diggs. Then your guy, Mike Evans. Mm-hmm. And then number 10 is still Tyreek Hill.
Okay. let's break this down a little bit. We already heard about Cortland Sutton, and you've got him at wide receiver 5. That's huge. That's a far higher than consensus has him right now.
Yeah.
Again, I'm with you. I think there's a breakout possibility. But at number 6, you've got A.J. Brown. Break that down for me.
This is, I'm a training camp report nut. Apparently, I buy into what's happening here. But I did look into some of the stats as well. So the Philadelphia Eagles and the Tennessee Titans ran the ball most out of any other team in the NFL. They are number 1 and number 2. Number 1 for the Tennessee Titans is because they have Derrick Henry. Of course they're going to run the ball. When it goes to Philadelphia, it's because Jalen Hurts runs the ball so much, and he's so good at running. And you've got him. Is he top 5? Is that right? He's top 5 QB for you?
He currently is sitting at my quarterback 5. Yeah, he's
top 5. He's about there for me as well. He runs the ball a lot. Well, when you spend the capital to get A.J. Brown, you're going to throw it. And he's going to throw it to a guy that he has such a good relationship and such good chemistry with that inevitably they're going to have to connect. Devonta Smith has openly said that he's accepted the decoy role. He is going to be the wide receiver too. He knows this. A.J. Brown is the only guy getting all the throws from Jalen Hurts. It is just A.J. Brown, A.J. Brown, A.J. Brown. The only other name I want to just mention, too, is Dallas Goedert. He's also been doing great in training camp and in practice and in preseason. But A.J. Brown is poised for this kind of upside. He is there in my rankings as number 6 because of what he can be. He can be on this roster as the best football player on that offense, if not on the whole team, I could argue. And I think there's a really, really good shot that he's top 10. I think best case scenario, he's the 6th wide receiver in the league, number 6.
I don't hate what you're saying. I just don't know that I see it happening. I don't know if he can get to wide receiver 6, surpassing guys like Stephon Diggs and my guy Mike Evans. I like A.J. Brown. I believe I have him as my wide receiver 20. And that may be too low. That may be too low. I don't think, I think I see things differently. The Eagles last year, they found success and started winning more games the more they ran the ball. Jordan Howard was fantasy relevant last year for a couple of weeks. I don't know how that happened again, but it did. So they found success running. The only thing I can say is that the Eagles did give up a first-round pick to get him. They gave up a first-round pick to get him, and then they paid the dude like a bucket load of money, like a ton of money. And so I don't necessarily – it's not out of the realm of possibility for him to finish inside the top 10 at this wide receiver 6 spot. It wouldn't surprise me if we get to the end of the year and we go, oh, duh, of course he went for, 95 receptions for 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. Like, duh. Like, of course he did. He's A.J. Brown. He is an insanely talented receiver. So I don't fault the ranking here. I don't think it's outrageously absurd or out of the realm of possibility. But it's bold.
It is bold,
dude.
I totally agree. And I think it's because the Eagles are going to transform more into a passing offense because we've seen it with these other mobile quarterbacks and these dual threat quarterbacks is that it takes 2 or 3 years for them to not rely on their legs, and they will depend on their arm more often when they get into the second and especially third year in the NFL. We see Lamar Jackson, as we mentioned earlier, he will rely on his arm to win him the game. I think when you get, as you said, spend first round talent, all this money on a wide receiver that your quarterback already knows and loves, then I think the potential is certainly there. I picked 6. I really think that is the best case scenario, but I think there's a very good shot that he is top 10.
Sure.
I won't go on record saying A.J. Brown is top 10. I won't. Okay. But I do, real quick, I want to go on record on something else here.
Just so you know, this podcast is being recorded, so all of this is on record.
This is documented.
What?
Mark my words.
The drama, I like it. Mark your words. Let's mark them. What are they?
I guess that is true. It is recorded, so it is recorded.
Yeah, this is.
But mark my words. Podcast. I want to go to this very thought here. Real quick, where's Justin Jefferson on your rankings?
In my rankings, Justin Jefferson is my wide receiver 1.
Okay, great. So we're both on this.
We agree. Yeah.
We both agree. Okay. I did a little math.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like doing math, but I did it because I wanted to find out something here. And I came to 2 conclusions. I looked back through the past few years and I wanted to see where the QB finished that had the wide receiver 1. Okay. The answer is, on average, the quarterback that finished with wide receiver 1 finished on average at QB 8.
Okay.
That means Kirk Cousins is a very good shot to be a top 10 quarterback.
Kirk Cousins is going to be top 10. He was going to say Kirk was good last year. Kirk was really good last year. He was a great option, especially down the road. Yeah. Okay.
So yes. Okay. Kevin O'Connell is going to be there. Offensive minded coach. There's no bad blood between Kirk Cousins and the head coach now. I want to say it. Kirk Cousins might be a top 10 QB. Last thing, quarterbacks that have multiple wide receivers that finish in the top 15, they finish on average at QB 6.
Wow.
There's a chance that old Tua Tagovailoa finishes in the top 10 as well.
Wow.
Jalen Waddle is right there. And the consensus, he's 16, 17. I've seen him at 14 and 15. Yeah. Where do I have him? I have him high. I have him as 13. I get it. Tyreek Hill's there. He's the primary guy. He's going to take away. Jalen Waddle broke the record for rookie receptions. He's not going to do something like that again. But quarterbacks that have multiple wide receivers in the top 15 on average have finished at QB 6. So mark my words. I'll say it. Mark my words. Kirk Cousins, Tua Tagovailoa, top 10 QBs at the end of the season.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Let's go, dude. What a fantastic way to finish off the very first episode of 4th and Troll Fantasy. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. We are super grateful that you joined us, and we look forward to seeing where this goes, where this takes us. We'd love for you guys to interact with us on social media. Check out our link tree. It's got our links to all of our social medias there, our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, everywhere, LinkedIn, MySpace, whatever you want to look for there. And if you enjoyed the episode, we'd love if you would give us a rating, give us a review, leave us 5 stars if you loved it. But for now, we're going to go ahead and sign off here from the first ever episode of 4th and Troll Fantasy. Look out for Tutty the Troll. Make him smile by giving us a follow and joining us next time every Tuesday and Friday. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy.